So I got to go to Venice in August to be part of the wedding of Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens, and they're both artists. Annie Sprinkle, you guys probably know, she's really famous. She's a performance artist who's done a lot of time in the sex industry before kind of transitioning into like a sexy performance artist. And her wife is Beth Stevens, who was the head of the art department at UC Santa Cruz, and they've been doing this thing for the past, I think that, well, I should know because I wrote the article, but for some years now they've been marrying each other in the spirit of a chakra, kind of going through the chakras. And so this year was the blue chakra, which was about communication, and so they went to Venice to marry the ocean. And I got to go, and I wrote a little thing about it. I'm just going to read a bit of it. And it turned into this crazy thing where like performance artists from like sexy performance artists from all over the whole entire world came to sort of like offer them a performance. They just kind of sat there like kings and queens while like people came and performed for them. So that's what you're going to hear. I follow Sadie and her friends away from the water and into the long brick warehouse ringed by weeds and abundant nature. Inside, the officiator, Beatriz Preciado, is trying to wrangle a sweaty gang of performers into some sort of order. Everyone is wearing blue, and the overall look is very Burning Man. Costume and body paint, rhinestones and glitter, ribbons, tulle, sequins, chiffon, lots of tattoos, and some scarification markings colloiding across arms and collarbones. There are Venetian masks, fake flowers, and paper fans fluttering in the humidity. Beatrice has facial hair penciled onto her face and is wearing a silky aqua ascot tucked into the neck of her work shirt. She comes up here at some point. On her head sits a blue Viking helmet, that's how you'll see her, with fat plastic rabbit ears where the horns should be. Beatrice is tall, good-natured, and seems to be saddled with the duties of wedding planner for those aspects of the wedding that are a wedding, and as producer for those aspects of the wedding that are an art event. But this is an assumed role, as the event actually has neither planner nor producer, hence a fair amount of chaos erupting everywhere, enhanced by the Biennale's reluctance to embrace the wedding as an event of its own. To begin with, the Biennale officials kicked the ceremony out of the Biennale renovated warehouse and onto the hot waterfront gravel and back, beside an ancient urinal where sailors and waterfront workers once fornicated with prostitutes who worked the canals. Then the Biennale officials declared that the sound system and chairs would be repoed at 6 o'clock sharp, regardless of whether or not the wedding is actually finished. The Biennale officials announced that the warehouse would then be bolted shut. While this situation is no doubt quite stressful for the brides, many of the performers delight in their outlaw status within the Biennale. They also love their proximity to the brotherly urinal. The brothel. This is the brotherly urinal. They've been having sex in that urinal since the 14th or 15th century, says Stephanie. She's a burlesque dancer, now ornamented with a fair amount of swinging fringe and fluttering chiffon, ready to go-go dance to surf music for the brides as Lady Monster. A boy walks up and offers me a baggie stuffed with ribbons. They're blue and read Annie plus C plus Beth, and Beth plus C plus Annie in silver. What do I do with this, I asked him. Whatever you want. I tie it to my necklace. Annie is handing out programs wearing a leopard blouse that sticks to her in the heat. On one shoulder she has a tattoo of a uterus topped with a golden crown. Her other shoulder sports a heart with a banner reading Beth, crowned with a wedding ring. The vibe is hectic. Beatrice compiles the performance lineup. Starlight and Neptune from California are doing a sexy hula hoop dance. Tim Stutkin from Berlin is enacting, quote, the final castration with a dildo to a Nico song. He swishes his hands fancifully. It's a goodbye thing to the phallus, tra-la-la. Margot from Athens will perform an act called Sappho's Ritual. I'm not speaking, just, she rolls her hands around, suggesting interpretive dance. Beatrice's first language is Spanish, Tim's is German, and Margot's is Greek. English is the common denominator, but communication becomes choppy and halting. Sadie and Leon are chanting some sort of order to their costume-based performance. Hair, shells, pearls, squid, fish, right? I wander into the adjoining pavilion to check out a show I'd seen advertised on the Vaporetti, the bus boats that ferry people through the town, since Venice has no cars. This is probably the single most stunning thing about the city, more wonderfully strange than even the ancient buildings and the gondoliers in their boats all decked out like the most garish of valentines, red velvet and golden cherubs up the wazoo. No cars, no roadways, only narrow streets with platforms to walk upon when the waters rise, and canals traversed with all sorts of boats. In Venice, it is a delight to see the trash boats, the police boats, the postal and delivery boats, all navigating the crowded channels. After about a week, I feel like I'm always bobbing on the water, regardless of where I am. Carol Queen arrives and begins costuming herself for the event. She strips down to a black bra and underwear and fishnets, and ties a length of blue satin around her hips. "Why does this town remind me of New Orleans?" she asked. "It's the water, of course, threatening to take the town, not with a sudden bursting of a levee, but slowly, over time, a wet erosion. Carol tells me about a statue she saw. The salt air had caused the marble to peel right off the form. It looked like it had leprosy," she says. The wedding is about to start. One performance is already underway. A girl named Natalie Lovelace is winding a thick, clear thread that looks like dental floss around her face, rendering it hideous, her mouth and nose pushed into a snout. Sadie and Leon push themselves into their mermaid costumes, tubes of skin-tight metallic blue spandex with zippered pockets at the crotch, and in Sadie's case, a full face hood with a perverse hole for her mouth. Just imagine that for a second. Beth shows up holding a couple of baby blue telephones connected by a curling telephone cord. "These are our communication telephones," she tells me. Beth is a sturdy butch with short brown hair and a perpetual smirk. She's wearing a crazy satin outfit covered with blue waves and a Doge's hat, a tight cap that comes to a rounded tip. I think you can see it, maybe one of those. The round tip, there's a tennis ball inside of it, that's how it's round. Her pants have a puffy white codpiece spangled with silver. She calls it her cloud piece. "This is Annie's bouquet." Beth shakes the phone mounted on a little post tied with ribbons. "And this is my bling." The bling is a phone Beth can hang around her neck with more golden phone cord. "We're waiting on the bride," she says, referring to Annie, who suddenly dashes by in a huff of stress. "Can I help you, honey?" But she's gone. Sadie Loon dashes by next, half naked and covered in glitter, clutching a big blue dildo. Beth waxes poetic about their vows to the ocean. "It's about sea empowerment, power to the mermaid." A boy wearing a giant powdered wig and a smart suit toddles by. "It's a Mozart wig," he informs, "but I'm not Mozart." He's meant to be a Venetian, though he is in reality a Londoner. Due to read a poem in Italian, he's now quite nervous because so many Italians are present to critique his poor delivery. He fans himself with a paper fan like Karl Lagerfeld and walks away. Leaning against the wall, Carol Queen is learning about one of the pieces hung in the Society of Fear Pavilion, a collection of photographs of German Nazis cross-dressing for fun. A Berlin artist found them and is blowing them up and making a gallery show of them. Finally, the wedding begins. The mermaids who cannot walk once stuck inside their fin suits sort of elegantly hurl themselves from their chairs and pull long strands of pearls from their mouths. Then they make out and pull objects from their unzippered crotch pockets, hair, seashells, squid, which they eat, and that giant blue double-sided jelly dong they each suck and end while rolling in ecstasy. Tim's final castration involves tinfoil and whipped cream and finishes off with the artist flinging himself into the mucky canal, much to everyone's delight. Margot's interpretive dance interprets lesbian sex, fondling imaginary breasts and folding her hand into fisting position. A girl named Diana Porno Terrorista in blue body paint and a tutu and a mohawk pulls a long roll of gauze from her vagina in the tradition of Carolee Schneemann's interior scroll. A genderqueer slam poet indicts capitalism. Some weird dude shows up in his underwear. A man attaches beads to the bare back of his girlfriend with piercing needles. Through it all, Beth and Annie sit, delighted, like royalty watching performances by loving members of their court. Annie wears a great blue veil, layers of netting spotted with fabric droplets of water. Natalie Lovelace, the girl who was winding thread around her face, finishes her act by dunking her head into a bucket of purple-dyed water and howling painfully. When she cuts the threads away, her skin is deeply marked and splotched with color. Unfortunately, time has slipped away from everyone. At 6 p.m. and the Biennale henchmen arrive to claim the sound system and lock the warehouse doors before Annie and Beth are able to perform their vows. We decide to process to a local campo to have food and drinks and continue the ceremony. Inside the warehouse, it's crazy. Annie drops her little blue clutch purse, spilling her belongings all over the floor. "Honey, this is fucking hard," she sighs at Beth. "This is a fucking hard gig." The floor is strewn with her asthma inhaler, euros, makeup, and pasties. "I know," Beth agrees. "It was beautiful, though." Tim shows up, dry from his plunge into the canal. "We all wanted to go in that water, too," Annie enthuses. "It's better you didn't," says Tim. "It tastes not so much." "You better have your tetanus shot," Annie laughs and swishes away in her wavy blue bridal skirts. Thank you.